Charles Bronson was born Michael Gordon Peterson on the 6th of December 1952 in Luton, Bedfordshire. Second born of 3 boys to Mum Ira and Dad Joe. He's described by all who knew him as a loving and caring boy. His mum says he loved little trips with his dad to feed the ducks and was a normal happy child. At the age of 13, Michael was in a little group of 4 boys that would hang around together and had a little franchise going. His mum Ira said, police knocked on the door one day. They'd been caught stealing shoe polish and laces, stupid little things boys wouldn't have at any rate, and they used to hide them in this lad's shed. The police had followed them this day, and that was the first time I'd ever known him to be in trouble. After this, he starts playing up at school and being cheeky to the teachers and getting himself expelled. So at 15, he asks his mum if he can live with his grandparents in Merseyside for a fresh start, which he does. And for the most part, he's a good lad from then on. He meets Irene, who he marries, and they have a son, Michael. But in 1974, at the age of 21, Michael Peterson's life will change forever. He and 2 accomplices take part in an armed robbery, Michael being the only one with a gun, a pump-action 12-bore sawn-off shotgun. No one is hurt, no one is killed. He's given 7 years, and if he keeps his head down, he'll only do 3. He doesn't keep his head down. He attacks 4 people in the first 6 months, 2 of which are prison officers. He'll get a proper beating for this and thrown in solitary and given an extra 6 months. The next 5 years is pretty much the same, just on repeat, getting moved between over 120 different prisons. In 1976, when in Wandsworth, he attempts to poison a prisoner in the next door cell for banging on the ceiling all night, so gets moved to Parkhurst, where he meets the Cray twins. They strike up a good and long-term friendship, but gets moved back to Wandsworth after threatening to kill a prison officer and thrown in isolation. In 78, he's moved to Broadmoor, then back to HMP Rampton. This is where he nearly kills child rapist and murderer John White. But the silk scarf he uses snaps as White is given out the death rattle. He survives, and Bronson is taken back to high security psychiatric hospital Broadmoor, where he is subject to drugs he doesn't want. One drug in particular, Ligatol, known by prisoners as the liquid cosh, which not only sedates but makes him really ill, spasms and sickness, dribbling and weak. When the treatment finally stops, he'll get fit again, and in 81, he'll make his way up onto the roof of Broadmoor and have a rooftop protest. While this is going on, Violet Cray, the Cray twins' mother, passes on a visit. He shouts hello and that he won't touch a single tile until the visiting is over. When she leaves, he waves goodbye and demolishes the roof completely. He's given another huge beating by staff. While nursing his wounds in solitary, the staff hand him Irene's divorce papers. He admits he cried all night, absolutely devastated and heartbroken, knowing he would probably never see his beloved son Michael again. In the same year, he's moved out of Broadmoor Hospital and back into regular prison life. In 1987, after serving 13 years of an original sentence of 7 and over 123 prison transfers, he's released. He'll go to Aberystwyth in Wales to stay with his mum and dad for a few days, constantly keeping up with his fitness, running on the beach every morning. He decides he wants to go back to Luton. He gets a train to London, where he'll buy a toy water pistol, jazz it up to look like a real gun, and intimidate a complete stranger into driving him back to his hometown. There, he'll launch into an illegal bare-knuckle fighting career, And this is when his promoter changes his name to Charles Bronson. He'll keep this name and is charged under it from then on. He can't seem to keep his emotions under control in the ring either. He's huge and fearless. On New Year's Day of 1988, he robs a jewellery shop, emptying the safe. But as all the jewellery is in the windows, he only gets away with around £1,000 worth. 1 week later, on the 7th of January, he's arrested on his morning jog. Pleading guilty after his girlfriend turns into a prosecution witness, he's given again 7 years. He continues his usual routine of attacking prisoners or guards or taking them hostage, and more years will be added to his sentence. This will include more rooftop protests in Broadmoor, causing hundreds and thousands of pounds worth of damage. In '92, while in Parkhurst, he stabbed in the back several times but would not speak about the incident. He healed from his injuries and nothing more came of it. He's released in November of the same year, and after 53 days of freedom, is back in for conspiring to rob and breaking his then girlfriend's lover's nose. But in 1993, the charges are dismissed and he's fined £600. 16 days later, re-arrested again for conspiring to rob, this time with a sawn-off shotgun. He gets 8 years for this offence, and the rap sheet just goes on and on. 1994, Easter Monday, takes a deputy governor hostage. September 1994, attacks the governor. 1996, takes 3 hostages, 2 of which Iraqi hijackers, and 7 years added to sentence. In 1999, takes civilian education worker hostage for 44 hours with a makeshift spear while trashing the place, dragging a washing machine out, being electrocuted in the process, plus throwing a fridge up a flight of stairs with his bare hands, and given a discretionary life sentence with a minimum of 3 years. In 2001, remarries Bangladeshi-born Ciara Rehman and converts to Islam until 4 years later, when he divorces Ciara and renounces the faith. In this same year, he appeals against his life sentence but is rejected. In 2008, the film Bronson is released based on his life, played by Tom Hardy. 2009, refused parole again. 2010, covers himself in butter so he can't be restrained. And in 2014, attacks the prison governor for withholding his letters his mother has written, and given 2 years, but the prison admits his mail had been unacceptably processed. Still in 2014, he changes his name by depot to Charles Salvador in a tribute to his favourite artist, Salvador Dali. 2017, marries actress Paula Williamson. In this same year, he watches a Channel 4 documentary called Confessions of the Paparazzi and sees a photographer called George Bambi. He gets Paula to contact George and asks him to come visit him, which he does. At the end of the meeting, he gives him a hair from his moustache, and the next day asks him to get it tested as he thinks he's his dad. Back in the day, he'd had a friend called George Bambi who'd got himself into a bit of money trouble. He'd agreed to do a robbery, but when it was all over, Bambi went AWOL, and Bronson ended up having a slight affair with George's biological mother. When he saw him on the paparazzi documentary, and Bambi being an unusual name, he was sure he was his boy. DNA confirms they are indeed father and son. In 2018, Charles and Paula fall out for good over photographs that are all over the tabloids of her letting a man motorboat her chest on a summer holiday in Tenerife at a gay club and inviting him back to her apartment, which Charles can't tolerate and ends their relationship. She later admits on a British TV programme called Loose Women that she does have a drink and drug problem. Sadly, in 2019, Paula passes away in her home from a drug overdose. Now the thing is, there's two sides to Charles Bronson, or Charles Salvador I should say. Believe it or not, he has done good throughout this time, and you can let me know if you think it should or shouldn't make a difference to this story. Over the years, he's published 19 books, including Lunology in My Own Words, the Charles Bronson Book of Poems, Solitary Fitness, and More Porridge Than Goldilocks. Has won 11 Coastler Trust Awards for his art and poetry. In 2016, he heard that a young boy of 11 had had his money cut for his cerebral palsy treatment and was trying to raise money by himself. So Bronson auctioned one of his paintings and gave the boy nearly £600 that he got for it. In 2017, he raised over $500,000 for children's charities, the homeless, cancer patients and domestic abuse charities through having his artworks auctioned or sold, and still does to this day. In 2021, he teamed up with Ayanapa-based band called Lost Vegas and wrote and recorded some lyrics and released a single to raise money and awareness for the mental health charity Calm. It went to number 1 in Cyprus, number 3 in Sweden, and number 31 in the UK. He's never harmed any women or children or a person on the outside world, and has never killed anyone. Any evil he has done has been inside the prison services. He and his son George have been working together for the last 6 years to rehabilitate Charles mentally and psychologically, and he truly feels remorse for all the people he's harmed physically or mentally. Charles says he's able to walk away from any confrontation. I'm not trying to overshadow or condone in any way any bad he has done. I'm just presenting the facts. In 2020, Charles Salvador won a High Court battle for the right to have his parole board meeting held in public, citing the right for a fair trial. And apparently this is due in June of 2022. Charles Salvador first went into prison aged 21. In December of 2022, he'll be 70 years old.